Hey everyone, it's Justin with APG, and I am excited to be talking about 3 essential UX skills in 2025. But you don't really want to hear those from me, you want to hear it from the experts. So today I am joined by Mark Tegtmeier from the Atlanta area, who is a UX expert. Welcome, Mark. If you would just introduce yourself to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Mark, obviously, and I've been in the Atlanta area for, I want to say about the last 6, 7 years, and come along in a UX career out of branding, basically came by way of branding, web development, website design, that kind of a thing. Really ended up kind of finding a fun place in the software world. So I've really enjoyed being in this space and getting to work on all sorts of different interesting projects in a variety of industries. It's a good profession. So
I love it, and I've gotten to know you over the past several months working together on one of those projects in a very unique industry, and we've had a lot of fun working on that. I am always impressed by your skills and your determination to make sure that we have the best design possible. So I think that folds in very nicely with what we're talking about today in terms of 3 essential UX skills in 2025. And when I think about skills, it's not just technical skills like hands on a keyboard or software you must know, but it's the soft and those technical skills that we know a good UXer needs, both of those. So let's start from the beginning. What would you say is the first essential skill you feel like every UXer should have in 2025?
there's this definition of what it means to be a user experience designer or a product designer, which those titles I would say probably more often, quite a bit more often now than you see the UX roles out there in the job market. And I think a large part of that, and that kind of goes into one of the top skills I would say that's important for moving into this year is that product thinking mindset, thinking from a product strategy standpoint. Obviously, we still want to be grounded in how are we benefiting the user, but designers are having to think more and more about how does this make business sense and being able to communicate that value. Because if you can't
That's right.
communicate that value, you just, kind of there for the nice feelings and um, there do become these questions of, okay, what are you doing here again? Why are we paying you
Well,
this much money?
well, that's true. And I bring that back to the project you and I have been recently working on, where our mission is to increase sales for the company that we're serving. And what's been nice about that is that's an anchor for us. We can always come back to that and look at our design decisions and say, is this going to move the needle? Is it going to move the needle significantly or a little or not at all? And it's important for us to be able to articulate that to our client to say, here's why we brought these ideas to you. And then they can say, yes, we get it. This all ties back to business case, because ultimately that's why we're designing this, is to improve a business case for an organization.
There's a lot of opportunity for, I think there's been a little bit of kind of this adversity between I'm for the user, I'm for the business, but
Yes,
really at the end of the day, if you are serving your users well, if you're serving your customers well, then that's going to make sense from a business standpoint as well. So
that's
the
right.
increase in sales, well, also it's how are we addressing the needs of the end users, the end customers? If we're doing a good job of serving them in those needs, then well, it's going to be an increase in sales as well because you're going to gain trust, you're going to increase your reputation. That reliability piece, I know that's been a big part of our thought
Yes.
process in this project. So yeah, I mean, I think really there can be a lot of harmony there, and that's not necessarily how everybody has been practicing design, unfortunately. You do have your cases where it's really kind of one versus the other, but I think there's an opportunity to serve make it kind of a win-win situation across the board.
Completely agree with you. All right, so to round out our list, what would you say is that final essential skill that our UXers need to bring into the new year?
I would say, uh, again, on that soft skill side, adaptability. We're seeing a lot of shifts, and new technologies brings a lot of new opportunities. It can kind of be a scary thing because things that have worked and really kind of these grooves and ruts that we get into. as professionals, they can feel comfortable, and it's kind of those go-to solutions. But really, to continue to be successful in this field, I think that adaptability piece. So just taking this time to learn new technologies, learn a little bit about what's going on in the world of AI and where things are at the moment, and take time to think about those things in terms of applications of, if I'm thinking about XYZ product for, B2B, how can AI actually be utilized and leveraged? Not only leveraged, but and you don't want to just throw something in there for the sake of it, but it's actually like thinking through those applications of how does this serve the end user? How does this serve the business case? And then, along with that, how do we actually make it something that's learnable, that's usable, that's really practical, that's not you're not just kind of stuck there, what do I want to do with this? This I could say whatever I want in this prompt, and but actually supporting the user kind of through that process of actually learning and adopting some of these new technologies.
I agree with you. I feel like for so many years on the design front, product folks and UX folks have been constrained based upon what was possible from a technology perspective. And I feel like those constraints are getting looser and looser, if not disappearing altogether, thanks to AI. So staying abreast of what is the latest capability, what can we do now that we couldn't even do 6 months ago, let alone a year ago, is going to be so important to weave those into designs and bring those ideas to the table. So I think that's a very, very good point. Final thoughts as we head into the new year, Mark.
At the end of the day, when it comes to design is so much more than the pixels, than the technologies, than the specific use cases and applications. And it really is about, I think a lot of it comes down to that serving aspect, that caring for people in how we utilize technology. Because technology can cut both ways, right? And so I think there's a responsibility on the design side to be thinking kind of through how do we actually use these new technologies for the benefit of humanity? How do we use these for the benefit of individuals who are going to be using things? And I think there's a lot of exciting things to explore in terms of what we have now. So as you said, constraints are starting to shift and open up. There's a lot of room for experimenting with how we approach things. We're not just thinking in the same kinds of rectangles and columns and stuff like that we typically do. Still dealing with screens and everything, but there's more opportunities. I think we can leverage that for some really cool and really beneficial stuff. So I'm
I
excited to
love
see
it.
what we have ahead.
Completely agree with you, sir. I think that those are all very good points. And when you bring it back to the users, bring it back to empathy and walking a mile in the folks we're designing for, you absolutely cannot go wrong. Well, I tell you what, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about these ideas and trends that are taking us into the new year, and look forward to having you back on the podcast in the future.
Yeah, excited.